Welcome to another Terps recap. Earlier this evening at the Xfinity Center, the Maryland Terrapins moved to 2-0 with an 87-54 win against UMBC. So just like last time, we're going to get into not only this game where we have the highlights on the screen, but just some notes and takeaways from this contest. Maryland really got going in the third quarter when they picked up their energy and scored 27 points, including starting the period on a 14-0 run. And that coincided with them getting 6 consecutive stops so they can get out and get to running in transition. And that really kind of started to fuel their offense. While their defense wasn't as record-setting as their first outing, they still held their opponent under 60 points, which seems to be a goal of theirs, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. UMBC was led by Jay Tillman, 17 points. Kennedy Austin added 14, and Heidi Williams finished with 12 for the Retrievers. Aluchi Okinawa and Izzy Ozzy Mamadou paced the Terps with 15 points apiece. Yarden Garzon added 12, while Sailor Poffenbarger finished with 11. Every member of the Terps that touched the floor in this game ended up scoring. Up next for the Terps, they host Georgetown on Sunday. Next, go over some notes and the takeaways had from tonight's game, included some notes from the post-game presser. Maryland's defense, they surrendered 14 in the first quarter tonight, which isn't bad in any shape, fashion, or form. Just that they were just a little bit off of that outstanding pace in their season opener a few nights ago. Kendall Walker and Aluchi Okinawa are easy movers in man-to-man defense. Both of them do a really good job where when they're sliding their feet, their hands are tied together, hands out. They're literally just obstructing the ball handler's view, eating up their space. Just impressed by both of them through 2 games in the way they go about playing man-to-man defense. Yarden Garzon uses her length well on the defensive end. Sometimes she uses her length to kind of make up for her feet to catch up at times. But I like that she does a great job of that. And she's shown that she's more than a capable defender herself. Brenda, I asked Brenda about this after the game. Over the years, she's done a great job with mixing up defensive coverages in games. Opponents will have to deal with a lot. Felt like in this one, obviously, it's early season, not conference. She was kind of it felt like she was putting her team through it a little bit in terms of seeing how they communicate. And again, I asked her about that, so we'll get to that answer in a little bit. But it had a real Ime Udoka type feel to it, where, you see them go from zone and not just a static zones, 2-3, 3-2. We'll see 3/4 court press. We'll see full court press, half court traps at times, back into man-to-man. Sometimes the man-to-man, they wouldn't switch. Other times they would. Just a lot. I was just impressed by their communication when you think of what their roster is made up of. Just a really good job. And the team did a good job responding to the switching of the defenses and communicating, as I mentioned. Like you can see up in press row, you can see them communicating to make sure that they stayed as organized as possible. Maryland came out in that third quarter, and I mentioned I just thought that was a quarter in which the game fully opened up, was where they kind of settled in defensively and decided we're going to make things truly tough for UMBC. And I mentioned some of the young women on UMBC earlier. They did a great job in that first half of just attacking Maryland. Then we saw the field goal percentage drop from UMBC as Maryland really started to weaponize their defense. Again, going back to Maryland's guards as a whole, they really do a very good job. 2 games in extremely small sample size of just taking the airspace away from opposing ball handlers. All of them have no issue sticking their nose in the fire, and it's something that's come to appreciate through 2 games. One thing they do need to do as a unit, again, small sample size, is do a better job of keeping their hands to themselves on defense. At times, they'll do the part of moving their feet, but a late swipe here will end in not only at times maybe an and one, but just a foul when it didn't need to be because your feet had you in place. Again, just the second game of the season. On the offensive end, we've yet to see Yarden Garzon really get going from deep. She touched on that in the post-game presser. So by her offense, she hasn't been super efficient as of yet. But in my notes, I thought she's done a great job just showing off her passing ability and other things that she brings to the table. And that was something she echoed after the game was talking about finding other stuff to do on the court outside of scoring. So it's great to watch her go through that growth and display that here at Maryland. I thought UMBC did a good job of mucking it up a bit in that first half, at times just messing things up for Maryland in the half court, getting them caught up in trouble and turning them over. Going back to Izzy, I always want to make sure I don't mess up her name. Where is it at? But give me 1 second. There we go. Izzy Ozzy Mamadou. Sorry about that. I thought she did a really good job just making herself available in the paint for her teammates in this game. She found different ways to seal, establish great position, and throughout the game, as evidenced by the 15 points you saw over and over again. Her teams did find her and feed her. Sailor, Poffenberg, I thought she did a really good job in this. She's done a good job in these 2 games of really not forcing the offense, forcing her offense, and just finding her space and taking advantage of her opportunities. And she mentioned that as well. But there was a play in the game, I want to say in the first half, her and Kendall Walker's playing like this 2-woman game in the left corner, and you saw her Sailor set the screen initially and roll. Then after she rolled, Kendall drove, and then she relocated back to the corner. So in fact, it was just kind of an elongated pick and pop, but she did such a good job moving after she set the screen, moving without the basketball, and she knocked down the corner 3. We saw last year, the first year at Maryland, she was able to stretch the floor for the Terps, and as a popper, once she screens, she's one of the better shooters in the country, just getting left open. And with Maryland's, their freshman guards, they all seem to do a good job of once that screen set. Their first step to get downhill has been threatening enough where Sailor's getting free. She's getting a nice little jump into open space. And once the pass is made, she's already locked and loaded. And that's going for most of the guards. We saw Connor Wadowick, Kendall Walker. Once they get Kayleen Spikel back, I'm sure that's going to be another person she can pick and pop with, as well as Bree McDaniel later down the road. Thought Maryland's spacing, it's been very fun to watch throughout the first 2 games. And I think it's with having Poffenberger and Garzon on the court at the same time. Essentially, 2 wings that can play up, and with both of them on the court, we're seeing a lot of cross-court passes through these first 2 contests, and it depends on what side of the floor the defense is loading up on. And it literally, if they're loading up on Sailor, the ball's going to get to the opposite side and find Yarden. Vice versa, in the other side of things, we saw Garzon kind of get loaded up at times, and it's just a simple cross-court pass between 2'6", 2'6" players to the other side of the court, and the other one is ready to catch and shoot. I just really appreciate the job they've done with their spacing through 2 games. One thing I feel like will improve as time goes on is something that they need to just work on a little bit. Just be a little bit stronger with the ball once they catch it. We've seen both Loyola and UMBC at times. Terps players catch the ball and it's being knocked out or ripped out far too easily. So it's just something to keep an eye on going forward. And going back to Izzy, just her activity on both ends, and especially on the offensive end, when she doesn't have the ball, she's very active in getting to the glass, setting good screens. So, again, just impressed by that. And then probably too many turnovers this game. Again, small sample size, teams still getting used to each other. Expect that to improve as time goes on. And another thing I've been impressed with, this is the second game in a row where I thought they've done a really good job dealing with opposing teams' presses, where despite having so many young guards, they're not trying to beat the press off the bounce. They're just taking their time, drawing the trap, and making a couple good passes. And it's like literally 2 or 3 quick passes, and they have the advantage going to the other side of the court. So credit to their guards and how they've been dealing with that. But that's the puzzling thing. But again, 2-game sample size, I think most of it's just getting used to each other, getting comfortable with each other. And I think some of that will go away. And we saw Maryland not shoot the ball well deep early in this one and then really get it going late, but didn't shoot it nearly as well as they did in that opening game. The freshmen, we saw Addie Mack, Kendall Walker, both have a nice little bop to their handle. They both have really nice wiggle when both in the play pick and roll or just in isolation situations where it's time to break down the defense. Rainey Wilson felt like she does a really good job on the defensive end. And we saw our offense come alive a little bit tonight, and we saw it a little bit more. We saw her put the ball on the floor late in the game when it was one of the kind of like all freshmen or the all underclassmen lineups. But one thing that's been constant is they're all locked in. All the underclassmen are locked in on their roles defensively. So that's the great thing. Maria Boyko, obviously still like the other freshmen, get minutes here and there. Her hands, she just has really good hands. The footwork is clean in the post. So just have enjoyed seeing that in the little stretches. Also, she runs the floor pretty well. There's a couple of times where, late in the game, obviously, she got the rebound, give it up to the guard. And, I mean, she's hauling it, getting down court, and it paid off a couple of times. From a couple notes from the presser, Saylor was asked about the depth. And she said, I think that's what makes us super special. We're really gelling well together right now. Rainey Wilson was asked about the freshman class as a whole, about their confidence. She talked about the support her teammates have given them, as well as the coaching staff. And then she mentioned how great it was to see her first collegiate buckets. See her first few shots go in, and just said that it just felt great. Going back to Garzon, she was asked about her offensive game, and that's when she mentioned just trying to make her teammates better. One of my goals this season is to do more than score, and we're seeing that through these first two games. And I'm sure that's going to pay off over time, where it's going to lead to her scoring more as she continues to move the ball. Coach Free said she challenged the group at halftime with their intensity, thought they needed to settle in a little bit, and they did. And she said she loved the response after the half, and them really leaning into and understanding their identity and where things needed to go. Love the fact that the second game in a row we held them under 60 points, and that was something she mentioned a couple of times that they were focused on. As for that energy and the difference in energy in the third quarter, I thought our energy was down based off the lack of offensive production. We can't play that way. We have to always be able to rely on our defense. I asked a question to her about how she felt the team was responding to her, kind of going through a couple stretches, changing the defensive coverages, and things of that nature. And she raved about the team's IQ and their ability to process the schemes and the coverages on both ends of the floor. And it's something that she anticipates them kind of continuing to growing into, and that's something that could be advantageous for them as the season goes on. But I was also very impressed that they were handling the coverage changes well and the constant communication. And you have a good group of freshmen, albeit whether it's redshirt freshmen or true freshmen, those players, the two of them, did not see the court last year. So it was just impressive watching them sort all that out, and it was kind of seamless, honestly. And even the few times through these first two games when they've had to scramble, their effort kind of makes up for those momentary lapses. But for Maryland, again, they'll have Georgetown Sunday at 1. Appreciate you guys for checking in with this Terps recap. We'll see you Sunday afternoon.